I close enough to the screen? Is it a good angle?
You look fucking great. Boom, we're live. Welcome to the Wandering Bear Sports Podcast, the number one sports podcast in the world. Today's very special guest, Super Rugby winner, World Cup finalist, the best second rower in the world, Kane Douglas. How are you, brother?
Good. How are you?
Good. I lost you a sec there. Can you speak again?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, that's better. That's better. I'm good, brother. I'm good. I got a lot I want to talk to you about. But the first question comes from a Jay Douglas, and is it a coincidence that Fusion nightclubs shut down as soon as you fled to Europe?
Well, I did frequent the place a lot when I lived in Cronulla, but I liked it better when it was the two rooms, two worlds set up. Fusion nightclub. Two worlds.
Mate, seeing that place die was look, it was good back in the day, but I wasn't sad when it died. I'm going to be honest.
No, I think I was in Brisbane maybe, or no, has it only closed like in the last year or so?
Yeah, it was literally during COVID. So when COVID happened, it shut. Obviously, you can't go to nightclubs, and then they probably pulled the pin about 3 months ago. That's a big part of Cronulla gone.
Yeah, I haven't been since probably 2013 or 14, probably 14.
I wish I could say the same, bro.
Memory.
Good memories, some good memories anyway. I got a lot I want to talk to you about, and probably the biggest thing I want to get into with you is, so you and I played CHS schoolboys together. So you're from Yamba, I'm from Coffs Harbour. Do you remember that?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So I'm going to say no offense here, so I can say whatever I like, and you can't get offended. Yeah. To see where you were to what you've gone on to become is pretty fucking remarkable, if I'm honest. And you probably don't see it like that, but you know, you went from not making CHS thirds, and if I'm being honest with you, and no offense, so I can say what I like, you didn't deserve to. And then 4 years later, you were playing Super Rugby. Is that the timeline? Like, can we dig in on that? How did that happen?
Yeah, I'd say you're right. Yeah, I don't know. I never really thought about that. Like I could make Super Rugby, or I could make it as a professional rugby player, or when I was in school. And like, to be honest, I got a story from my first rep rugby training at Far North Coast Rugby, and we're doing a 4-man line out with the halfback would come in and jump.
Yeah.
And I had to be that person because I was the tallest in the team, and I turned the wrong way. I was facing the middle of the field, not the where the hooker was throwing. So I actually didn't have much of an idea of rugby growing up. I sort of grew up in a rugby league family, and I was 85 kilos, ringing wet at school. I was
You were still tall. You were still tall though. What, you were about 6'5", I think, when I met you. You did a little bit of growing after, but
yeah. But yeah, I was a stick insect, and yeah, I suppose I had the right thoughts about my progression. Like I just tried hard and did everything. Like I suppose that's how I grew up, with my mum and dad's influence and my older brother, to just work hard at things. So that's I know, and like I don't think I was that good at school either. Like I agree that I don't think I deserved.
But let's go through the timeline, because like what I'm interested about is your rapid improvement, and because I think that'll be interesting for anyone watching this. So you finished school at Yamba. What was your next move? Was it straight to Sydney, or you were training with the Cronulla Sharks 18s for a bit, weren't you?
Yeah, I only did a month or two's training with SG Ball, with Cronulla Sharks, but I worked for a week as a painter.
That's about as long as you'd want to last doing that job, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. But I think I actually wasn't that good at it either. He didn't call me back to give me another week's work, so which was actually pretty good. And then I think someone who was my coach, maybe Jared Hodges or Mickey Willis.
Yeah.
The great
Shout out
Mickey
to the
Willis.
great men, both fantastic fellas.
They put a good word in for me for at the Waratahs Academy, and yeah, I was tall and probably had maybe the right work ethic, whether the talent was there or anything. But and my brother was already playing NRL, so yeah, the Waratahs Academy sort of, I think it was Joe Barricat or Greg Mum called me and said, do I want to come down and do some training? And I decided I'd do that. My body type was more suited to rugby, and I thought I'd do something different than my older brother.
So just going from that, so you came to Sydney. Obviously, the connection with your brother Luke helped you get in with the Sharks, and we'll talk about Luke in a bit. Yeah. And that from there, a couple of our former coaches hooked you up with the Waratahs, and they thought, good genetics, blah blah blah. Let's give the guy a go. How did you end up at Southern Districts? Was it just because it's closest to Cronulla?
Yeah. Well, I was living with Luke in Cronulla, so yeah, that was. I hadn't had any, there was no connection with Southern Districts when I first started at the Waratahs Academy. So that was end of 2006. 2006. Yeah, started 2007. Yeah, there was no connection. Talking with Greg Mum and a few other people at the Waratahs, they said, "Oh, why don't you, I know the Waratahs shouldn't have like a say of what club you go to, but they were sort of pointing me in the direction of Sydney Uni."
That's a big surprise.
And so I was actually sort of I didn't sign a contract or anything, but I was sort of affiliated with Sydney Uni for that 2007 year. But I did 2 weeks of training with the Waratahs Academy, and I subluxed my shoulder twice, and I had to get shoulder surgery. So I didn't actually, apart from seeing their physio, I didn't do anything at Sydney Uni. But yeah, I was so that was that, and then I was the whole season I was injured, and it was actually good for me. I used to train with the injured boys from like the professional Super Rugby Waratahs, and there was a huge injured squad at the time. There was Dan Vickermans, Alcanaz, Phil Waugh would come through a couple times. Yeah, it felt like there was like 25, 30 of us in the injured group. And it was a good chance for me to put on some weight. So I think I started at the Waratahs at 90 kilos, and within 9 months of doing leg weights and things, because I couldn't really do any uppers, and working at Subway, I put on about 15 kilos.
I probably put on the same amount of weight while you were working at Subway, to be fair.
I actually remember you coming in to see me at Subway.
Yeah, put in the veggie 6-inch sub through for instead of a triple meat roast beef or something.
Yeah, veggie delight for $3.95, 6 inch. Give you a foot long, yeah.
So you took that year, you built your body, and then you ended up at South. What year was it? 2009 you started playing? Or was it 2008?
Yeah, I think it was 2008, and I think it was from probably the influence of Dan Palmer and a few other boys at Southern Districts. Were like, "Oh, mate, you live in Cronulla. Why would you go anywhere else? Why don't you come to Southern Districts?" So, yeah, and it was great for me to do that, because I got to play first grade straight away, and I think I played every game that first season. Maybe I don't think we won many games, but
it was sort of within. Well, we'll talk about South first. So you when you came to South, it was probably a bit of a shitty era, for a lack of a better word. But then I think, what year did we make the grand final? Was it 2010? No, it was 2012, wasn't it? No.
Yeah.
2010 we made the semi-finals, and if you look at that forward pack we had, some pretty fucking impressive people came out of that. So it was Tetra Faulkner, played for the Wallabies. John Lungia, playing for Bayonne in the top 14. Barnes, played for the Wallabies. yourself played for the Wallabies. Sitaleki Tamani ended up playing for the Wallabies. Radiki Samo had already played for the Wallabies, kind of retired, and then ended up playing for the Wallabies again. Itavea, who got called into the Wallaby squad the week he retired. And then the sort of half cast was probably Sean Doyle, who played for Munster and the Brumbies. So that was a pretty impressive forward pack for club level. What did that kind of help progress you, or was it more like looking? I suppose at the time, like it was a pretty fun time. All of us were pretty young and we were enjoying it. But how did you feel about that period, specifically about South?
No, I really enjoyed my time. I love the finishing training and going to Tarrant Point Hotel for a feed, and then maybe going to the movies after. And it was like a good bunch of guys. Very fond memories. I probably should have kept in touch with a few more of the boys, but I suppose guys can do that, and we can just bump into someone, and it's like we haven't.
What's like with you? I haven't talked to you for ages, and it's just like talking to you like I have been for a while. So from there, you started playing regularly. When did you start playing regularly for the Tars? Was it 2010? Because you were kind of on the fringes that year. You had a few games.
No, so 2010 was my first year, and I played every game of Super Rugby 2010. So I'd already played a couple of the Southern Districts before that year with the big forward pack. But
what was your? I was talking to Taff about this. What was your? Because you obviously come from a bit of a rugby league background, so I can't imagine you grew up wanting to play for the Waratahs. What was your? Like, how did it feel to you mentally? Can you remember? Can you remember it? Were you shitting yourself? Was it like a proud moment? Was it just a normal game? Like, I know you probably have to say it was a proud moment, but how do you really feel about how do you really feel about it?
Like I feel like being associated with the team with the New South Wales tag. Like I was very proud that I was from New South Wales, and like I was a rugby league background, but I loved supporting New South Wales in like state of origin and things like that. So being in the New South Wales Waratahs was pretty cool.
But in terms of your mindset, were you nervous?
Yeah, no, like I think I was. I still get nervous now before games. I don't really like thinking about games till I'm at the game. So I think the first game for Waratahs, I was nervous, and that was still at the time of that like old school. There was a lot of older players that sort of ran the team rather than the coach running the team. So it was during that time, and I felt like I had to do, like, obviously you want to do your best, but I had to do my best for those guys who were.
Was that the sort of Dan Vickermans of the world? Phil Waugh, that was around that time, wasn't it? I've literally done no research for this, bro, so I'm just going off my memory.
Yeah, I think Vix was actually away during that time, so that might have been when he was over in England.
He went to Cambridge, that's right, yeah.
So that was probably how I got my first start. Anyway, there was a few boys got injured, and I was like Stephen Bradbury into the team, and then
you just stayed
there. And it was good for me. That they didn't really have that many options, and I was playing okay, and it was a good learning year for me.
Who was coach when you first started there?
Like when I was in the academy, there was Ewan McKenzie, but when I actually started playing, it was Chris Hickey.
Okay, the former Eastwood coach. So I got to talk about the Super Rugby win. What was it like being part of that team? Looking from the outside, that must have been a fun year to be playing rugby, because full houses every week, and New South Wales people are like, when you're winning, everyone loves you, and
when you're not,
when you're not, you're the worst person on earth. But do you have any memories from that year? Anything stand out, like on or off field?
Oh, I just remember how tight we all were and how fun things were, and everything was. There was a joke every day, and there was boys like even being joking at training, where sometimes you're playing teams where it's so serious. So
do you think that comes from winning though?
Yeah, it does. Like obviously, if you win, you're like the coaches don't look at you when you're trying to be a dickhead at training as much as if you're losing. But yeah, we just was that second year of Michael Checker being there, and yeah, like the people have different views of him, but I really enjoyed his different way of thinking about things. Like it was a very big change from the previous coaches. So
Did you?
um,
Can I ask? I want to get a bit rugby nerdy about it.
yeah.
What were some of his training sessions like? Was it full noise the whole time? Lots of fitness.
It wasn't the whole time. I can't remember doing lots and lots of fitness, but he would just be pretty sporadic. He would. It was like he'd read like a handbook and gone, I need to rev the boys up because it's been like 3 weeks since I blew up at them. I need to like we did a few captains runs where we'd smash each other. Like you're supposed to be doing like a half an hour of light training.
Yeah,
But
right.
like it wasn't like every week we did that, but yeah, like I really he'd even start putting hits on at training if boys weren't like
So
he'd
he would
have his
he would physically jump into sessions and start tackling people.
yeah he had his boots and he'd come and join in if we were down a number or down a back rower.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay. What about? Can you remember anything from the final?
yeah. I can remember. So before the game, we had this analogy throughout the season. It was I think it was let the club go. So like a golf swing, you want to hit the ball, but like actually put everything in it that the golf club goes as well as the ball.
Yeah.
So that was the analogy for the whole season was let the club go. So he bring a golf bag full of drivers, and there was enough for every player in the 23, I think, and we all had to swing in the change room at Homebush, which is a big change room, and there's like a net above the warm up area inside the change room, and everyone had to swing the golf club and let it go, and it hit the wall, and you sort of had to watch out if it was coming back at you. Like I nearly hit a few boys, but yeah, like that. I remember that, and then obviously the game. It just went so quick. Like yeah, like it was such a good feeling, and even the like jumping around, hugging each other after the win, and things like that.
It's funny how like I've probably played 200 odd games of rugby in my career. You're probably pretty close now, probably more. But you remember very little from the actual games, and it's more stuff like that. Like from remember the final we played at Concord in 20. It was that year actually, and I can't remember a single thing from the game, but I can remember walking back from the training ground where we warmed up, and then there was, maybe 300 of our lunatic mates all off their heads,
Yeah.
yelling abuse at guys like Paddy, and it's just funny that those are the things you remember. That's probably the good stuff. Well, what about after? Can you talk about Silly Sunday, Bad Monday? Who was best on ground? I
Yeah.
remember seeing you during the week, and you were a little worse for wear. You and what was it? Potgater. You were Potgater.
Yeah. No, that was yeah. Like we were pretty tight too. All the second rows it was me, Will Skelton, and
Have
Jack
you
Potgieter.
have you found that in most teams you're playing, all the tall guys sort of hang together?
Yeah, I think most of them. Sometimes you get someone who is a bit wary of their spot and like doesn't really want to hang with the other second rows. So, but like I think that's only been one or two years of me playing. But yeah, normally we're pretty close. We've all got long backs. We know the struggle of getting a sore back at training,
You
and
see the world from a different perspective.
yeah, we do. But yeah, we all sort of understand each other, and I suppose it's the same with front rows. But
I've never been in a team where the front rowers didn't get on. Even if they were competing, it was still, you know, they've always been good friends. And I have a theory about tight forwards in general is that the good ones tend to be good blokes.
yeah.
So you tend to get on with good blokes. Well, talk to me a bit about Jux Potgetter. He was a bit of a sensation when he was here. You guys were pretty close, weren't you?
Yeah, we were.
Is he still playing, or has he hung the boots up?
Um, I haven't really seen anything that he's officially just like. I was watching the podcast of Taft. Like
Maybe I'll have to get him on, mate.
Yeah, I haven't seen him actually say he's retired, but yeah, he's got a few. I think he's got a few different things going in South Africa. He's opened a couple of hairdressers and things, and yeah, I'm pretty sure he's finished.
What was the impact he had around the Tars boys?
Oh, he just bring a lot of energy, and he was just different, like different than anyone else, and he just loved, like it sort of suited the way Michael Checker wanted us to play too. He would just smash things just for no reason. He would fly into rucks, which you'd get penalised for these days, but somehow he was getting away with it in 2014 when we won. But yeah, he would even get the ball, and he would just run at the biggest person on the other team or the biggest hitter on the other team. And if he won, he would like get up and yell at you, and like he'd be the man. And then if you hit him quite well, he would get up and he'd go, "Oh, good hit, mate!" Like, and he would like that. Like that was his thing. And then he also, like, we'd look at each other before every scrum and go, "Oh, like who's doing this next tackle, or who's doing this thing?" Like we'd G each other up. Yeah, it was like, and off the field too. Like he was always positive with things. He was new to Australia, so he wanted to go see things, and yeah, it was
that sort of excitement that people feed off. So what happened after there? So did you play 2015, or when did you go to Ireland?
Yeah, so that's when I went. Mid-season 2014, I was looking to re-sign, and Ewan McKenzie was the coach of the Wallabies at the time, and there was no interest of me getting any money from the ARU at all, and I didn't really think that I was high on his list of players to make test teams. So I decided it was like I decided that it would be good to go and experience something different, and it's hard because you look at rugby players and you can play in all different countries, and if you could, you'd go and play in every different country. But yeah, like I thought that I did want to go overseas at some time, and I wasn't getting the love that I thought I deserved, so I thought I'd leave.
You were at that age too, where you could have come back, and you could still come back. You're not how old are you now? 29?
31. I'm only
you old fucker. No, I'm 33 next week. Fuck. Sorry, this isn't about me. So what club did you go to in Ireland?
I went to Leinster.
Did you enjoy it? Honestly, did you enjoy playing there, and did you enjoy the experience of it?
I feel like it had similarities to the Waratahs in terms of the fans loving you when things were good and not loving you when things were bad. But probably more so because there wasn't much else. There's not much else going on in Ireland, especially when it gets cold and wet, like all Europe. That like they're so fanatical, and because Leinster is a good team and goes well, when it's not going well, it's like the worst thing ever, and you get talked about. I don't know. That's when I still had Twitter, and you'd get tagged in things that you're playing shit. And
really,
yeah. And I think it was the worst year in 12 seasons. The year I was there, we lost the semi of Europe, of the Champions Cup, Heineken Cup, and we came fifth in the league, which means that we didn't make the finals. In the pro, it was Pro 12 at the time. We didn't make the finals, so that was like the worst they'd done in 12 years. So coach got sacked. Yeah.
Who was the coach at the time?
So it was Matt O'Connor, an Aussie
guy, yeah.
And Marco Caputo was a scrum coach.
Another Aussie, yeah. So you spent a year there, or you didn't quite finish, did you?
No.
It was a year.
I signed there for 3 years, and I got there a couple months late because of Super Rugby, and then I got injured, so I had back surgery in like April and didn't finish the season, and then I got out of my contract to come back to the Reds and the Wallabies.
Can we talk about how you came back? Do you want to talk
Yeah,
about that?
so during my time there, you and Mackenzie decided to quit the Wallabies, and Michael Checker got the job, and then I'd started talking to Checker's offsider Anthony Hill, big tall bald man, lives in France, one of Checker's old mates, and he used to call me every now and then and go, "Oh mate, do you want to go back to Australia? Do you want to?" And knowing that Czech was there, I really liked the year or two before that I had with Czech. So it was like this seed was just planted in my head, like I can go back and I can play for the Wallabies, play at the World Cup 2015, and and it just started sort of eating away at me. And I was, especially when I was injured and wasn't playing, and when you're going through a European winter, things get sort of dark and miserable. So I was like, oh, this could be good. And and it was actually pretty hard. It was a hard decision because I had to get out of my contract and let someone down. I don't like letting people down. So I was, I had to like call the coach and say, mate, I want to get out of my contract. And
just for non-rugby people, is that a difficult thing to do? Like, is there a process for that?
Well, I think maybe in different situations it's easier. Like if the club wants to get rid of you as well, then it's probably easier. And I'm like, I think I was 26 at the time, maybe. 25, 26, and I'm like, I'd won Super Rugby the year before, and not that I had the best season at Leinster the year I was there, but they didn't really want me to go. And then. And also like, I can talk about it. So
I was trying to get you to.
So David Nusafora, who was the my under-20s coach, for some reason he didn't really like me. Whether that was me not being up to the standard he wanted me to be, or something, or not the type of player he liked. I felt like he didn't like me at under-20s level, and then. He was actually the head of contracts in Ireland. So every contract for all the 4 teams in Ireland, they get signed off by the IRFU, the Irish Rugby Union. So
even for the domestic teams.
Yeah, even for the domestic teams. So because they're not allowed that many foreigners too, they get looked at and like, why are you spending money on a player when you could develop Irish talent? So because I came in, I signed a 3-year deal, and then he didn't really like me, and I think he didn't really like the ARU either. So he made it hard for me to get out of my contract. So like I had to pay to get out of my contract, which I was compensated because the ARU increased my contract when I got back to Australia. So but at the time it was, and I still sort of kicked myself and go, man, I don't regret coming back, but it sucked that I had to like actually go into my bank account and pay to get out of my contract. But yeah, he made it. The Leinster actually agreed that I could pay it off gradually, and then he came over the top and said, no, it needs to be done before you go. And so I'm like, oh shit, like, what do I do? And I'm like calling my dad and calling my manager, and like, yeah.
Presumably, not a sum of cash you've just got lying around the house.
No.
Or you might now, but maybe not back then.
No, I feel like I had more money back then, before having kids and a wife. But I don't know. I'd sold my house in Australia, so I had money. I had money sitting there, but like, it's still not a good feeling to.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't regret it. Looking back, I don't regret that decision.
Well, we'll talk about what happened next after. I'm just going to jump around a little bit because that's just the way my brain works. But let's let's talk about your Wallaby career. When did you make your debut, and who was it against?
Yes, I made my debut 2012 in the Gold Coast against Argentina.
What were your memories of that? How did you get told you were going to be a Wallaby? Did they do anything special, or was it just you get named in the meeting, or?
Um, yeah, well, like I was in the squad that year because I'd had an all right year with the Waratahs, but I hadn't played the first few games. So I think they'd played New Zealand a couple of times and South Africa in Perth, and then a few boys had been injured again. So similar to like my Waratahs debut, there was a few boys injured, and yeah, like I think just at training on like the Monday or Tuesday, I sort of you could tell like how many second rows were left and. I think they didn't name it till Tuesday or Thursday, but I sort of knew, like I knew that I was gonna be playing that weekend. And yeah, it was actually pretty surreal week. On the Gold Coast, my brother was living on the Gold Coast at the time. Mum and Dad were just down the road in Yamba, well, not just down the road, but a couple of hours away. And yeah, it was such a good week. It was still the time of going out on a Tuesday night pre-test, which was pretty fun. And then, yeah, like we had a win. I think I got player's player or something or whatever it was after the match for my first game. It was a really good week.
So, mate, that's pretty cool. I was talking to Jake. What happened on tour? Did you got in trouble at one point?
Yeah, so that was 2013, the end of 2013. So
Robbie Dean's era.
So Robbie Deans had just been sacked I think he got sacked after the British and Irish Lions tour.
We'll talk about that next. But yes, just keep going.
So Ewan McKenzie had taken over, and yeah, we went to Italy the first week, and then we went to, oh no, maybe it was England, then Italy, then we're in Ireland. So we're in Dublin, and yeah, we just had a Tuesday night. We split up into small groups and went to dinner, and then we all, well, not all, but most boys, there was a fair few of us, all met at Temple Bar in the middle of Dublin, and then we ventured up to a nightclub. And yeah, I actually wasn't that drunk. I was like, I had a couple, but like I was just having fun, and yeah, like I didn't really think much of it. There was a few boys that were a bit plastered, but yeah, so that was what happened, and then we went. Like I just went home. I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock, and then the next day was the day off. So no one knew anything. We just all went and did what we did on the Wednesday, had the day off to do whatever you wanted. And then Thursday morning came around, and it was we just walked into this funeral of a meeting. It was like, what's going on here? And yeah, Ewan McKenzie had just called this meeting and was just blowing up about how we went out and how we're not being serious. And I suppose it did have to change. Like, I suppose you look back at it and go, well, it's a test. You're playing for your country. Maybe you shouldn't be drinking on a Tuesday night, or like, but it wasn't like, in my head, I'd only had a few, and it was just socializing and whatever else. But yeah, like, so we had this big meeting, and it went sort of around. There was a few boys that sort of said, yeah, like, I think it's really bad that boys have been doing this, and this has been happening for a while. And then there was boys sort of supporting the boys just having a bit of fun. And then they went around the room and sort of asked a few of the staff, and they said, oh, what time do you think it would be good to come home after a Tuesday night dinner leading into a test? And I think the S&C said 12:30 or something. And then so Ewan McKenzie goes, all right, boys, put your hand up if you came home after 12:30. And yeah, there was like 16 of us or something, or 15 of us that all put our hands up. And of that, there was 9 boys that were playing that week. So it was I think that one of the articles was like the Dublin 15, and then there was like the Dublin 9 or the Dublin 6 or whatever it was, that there were boys that were starting or playing. So if you were playing that week, you weren't available for selection the next week as punishment. They decided after a couple of days, and we all 15 of us had to go and have like it was like nearly a little court case. It was like the player, Ewan McKenzie and the S&C, and everything was written down. So it was like, I went to this place at this time. I had this amount of drinks. I was dancing and talking to so-and-so. Like, and it was like, what's going on here? And then that actual report got sent to each Super Rugby team and then back to the player. So it was like this, like, actual report coming down from the ARU that we were in trouble. But yeah, it was bizarre. It was my dad, and I was with Nick Cummins. Nick Cummins' dad was in town as well. They came to Ireland and then Scotland, and then and it was just a weird setup, and like boys were like going, "What are we doing here?" Like, just it didn't feel enjoyable, and then it was bizarre.
You're probably on the edge of that sort of old school touring, new school touring, and guys are probably trying to work out sort of how to do it the new way, if that makes sense. Like, we've both been on rugby tours, and by far and away, the best part of being able to tour the world is getting to experience that sort of stuff. And it seems very strange to me. Like, you're grown men, you're elite athletes, and going out all night drinking probably isn't the best thing, but what really matters is how you perform on the weekend.
Yeah.
I think, and I can kind of get the cultural stuff, but well, that's interesting. It's not as interesting as Jake made it out to be, but I guess
I'm wondering if I left anything out, but
maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So from there, let's go back to the Lion series. You played in the Lion series?
Yeah.
What are your memories of that?
Like we lost 2 of the games. So it wasn't like what we expected or what we planned to do, but it was pretty cool. Like, I didn't, because I didn't grow up watching rugby, I didn't really know the significance of it, and having like started at the Waratahs in 2007, there was obviously the British and Irish Lions in 2009 into South Africa, but I didn't really know about it, and then it was like, oh, the Wallabies are playing the British and Irish Lions this year, and then like all the cities we were in, there was like thousands and thousands of people from the UK and Ireland in the city, and like it was just crazy. All the pubs were full. Like,
as a player, I'm curious about this. Can you guys feel the significance of it, or are you a bit sheltered from it?
Like, everyone's got their phone and they can read all the stuff in the papers, but I don't know. I feel like other boys probably knew the significance of it more than I did, but like, at the time, you're just trying to train as hard as you can to play as hard as you can on the weekend, and we had a similar thing with boys getting in trouble. That was the time when maybe James O'Connor and Kurtley Beale went for Macca's run or something. We were late at night, and someone took a photo of them or did something. I think they might have been in Melbourne or something leading into one of the tests. Like we obviously lost and we didn't play that good, but it was pretty cool to be involved in that.
What about the World Cup? What are your memories of the World Cup for you in particular?
Yeah, like I think by far and away it was the best rugby experience of my life. Like it was, we lost the final, but it was like I just moved back from Ireland. I was like straight into camp in Sydney, and it was just this whole build up. It was like this. We had a few weeks training in Sydney, then we're on a plane over to the States. We're in Chicago and around there for a week or two, and then we went over to the World Cup in London, and all them games we were just winning. We were like we were winning. We just play the next, like there was the next game, then we're into the finals, and we won the quarter and the semi, and yeah, it was such a good vibe around, especially after beating England and Wales over there, like that. None of the locals could give you shit, and so that was a good feeling. And it was just, I think everyone believed that we could do it. We could get there, and we'd beaten New Zealand in Sydney a few weeks before we sort of started the World Cup campaign, and yeah, I think everyone. It was just a really good time. It was like we had some good hotels we stayed in. Yeah, it was just such a cool feeling.
Can you remember much of the final?
I only played 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and I got lifted on a kickoff, and I landed and did my knee and my ankle all in one go. So yeah, I sort of hobbled off the field, and then I've like obviously got pretty emotional. It was like this huge build up to this final, and I only got to play 15 minutes of it, and we lost. And then to make things worse, I went up to get my silver medal on the stage, and Prince Harry was giving out the medals, presenting the medals, and I'm on crutches, and like probably getting pretty teary, and he goes, chin up, mate, it's not all that bad, or something. It was something like that. And I was like, I didn't say anything back to him, but I was like, you fucking prick, like your team lost or whatever, and you're probably a bit sulky or something, but like it's pretty bad, mate. Like I'm on crutches, I've done my knee, and I've just lost the World Cup final. Like it's fucking pretty miserable. But,
well, yeah. Look how life's turned out for him lately.
He's struggling.
How'd you? Well, yes. How'd you end up at the Reds? How'd that come about?
I was when I was in Dublin, and I wanted to come back to Australia. I could have gone to Sydney, and to the Waratahs, but I think with my now wife, I was with her and she was pregnant, and knowing my dad was only 2 hours away or 3 hours away in Yamba, and her mum and stepdad were on the Gold Coast. Yeah, sort of, and the fact that Matt O'Connor, who was the Leinster coach, he was going to the Reds, so he was like, "Oh mate, you should come to the Reds." And so there's a few different things, and yeah, you're like, yeah, you think about loyalty and things like that, and that I'm playing for the enemy, but like you sort of you want to experience different things and different teams. So it was, I didn't dwell on it too much. Like it didn't really sit bad with me that I was like going to play for Queensland or anything. But yeah, so I that's why I went there. Yeah.
Was Brad Thorne coach at the time?
So I knew he was going to the Reds, but he was going to be the under-20s coach.
Okay. So you didn't have much to do with him when you were there.
No, like I did. So when I first went there, he was going to be the under-20s coach, but then he had like a bit of a mentoring role with the team, and then the next year he was maybe defense coach, and then then 2018, before I came to France, he was the head coach. So
have you got what's he like as a guy? Sort of away from what you see in the media and that sort of thing? What's he like as a bloke?
Yeah, like he's sort of weird to explain. He's very different. Like the way he thinks about things is very different. He is very religious. And I think I've heard stories of him being a bit of a getting on the beers when he was younger, when he was at the Broncos and stuff. But yeah, like he was very religious. If there was a swear word in a song in the gym, he would blow up and get you to turn it off, because he actually had a bit of a stint as I think the S&C got the sack, or got sort of put on, like he only controlled what running we did. He didn't do the gym, and Brad Thorne actually ran the gym sessions.
Okay.
So yeah, if someone played a song with like some swear words in it, he would be like, "What's this? Get this off!" Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, right.
And he was, yeah, I don't know. He was very different. Like, it's hard to explain. He's socially sort of a bit awkward. Like, he'd be like, oh, like you don't know what to say to him, or like, hey Thorny, and you just walk off. Like, yeah, I found him sort of, yeah, a bit just different. It was, yeah, without saying anything bad, it was just different.
That's a good way of saying it. BPA told me that he was in Argentina when he had the long hair, and Brad's come and sat down next to him at the airport and said, "You got 2 days to cut your hair, or I'm sending you home." And BPA's just like, "What? You might have been there or something."
Yeah,
he goes, "What?" And then the next day he's like, "I'm serious, Brandon. You need to cut your hair." So he's gone and found a barber in Buenos Aires or something, and he's ended up getting like the shortest that he would allow. Bro, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. We'll talk about France in a sec. Yeah. What influence have your brothers had on your life? Good or bad?
No, a good influence. Obviously I had people to play backyard footy against. Like we were pretty close. Like did I just exit that?
No, you're good.
No, I've lost the bloody. Oh, there you go. Yeah, because we were spaced out. Mum and Dad didn't have was spaced us out with all 3 years apart. So Luke, 3 years older than me, I'm 3 years older than Jake. So we didn't get to play footy with each other, apart from when me and Jake played at Southern Districts together. So yeah, but in terms of being around the house, like I was the odd one out because I was the middle child. Where like if I was picking on Jake, Luke would have his back. If I was going at Luke, Jake would back Luke up. I sort of felt like I was middle child syndrome. But yeah, like Luke was playing for Cronulla Sharks when I was still at school, and everything sort of he did was very professional, and he did need to stretch every day. He did need to do like watch what he ate. I
was going to ask you about that because
I've never been like that. Like I haven't really needed to. Like there's been a couple times where I might have blown out, but I haven't stayed like that for long. And he really needed to. So, and I was sort of blessed. I was pretty flexible and stuff the whole time. I didn't need to keep stretching. Maybe I should have, but
I was going to ask because like you've mentioned a few injuries that you had. I didn't actually know you had that many injuries, but Luke's got the record for most consecutive games in the NRL.
Yeah,
and obviously that's clearly due to some good habits. Jakey is probably close to being Southern District's record holder for first grade games.
Yeah.
Is it? My memory of you is that you hadn't got injured that much, but obviously you have. What is it?
No, I feel like I haven't missed that many. Like there was like the couple of seasons where, like, even when I had back surgery, I was only out of rugby for 3 months.
Yeah, right.
When I did my knee, I was like the minimum you can be out with a ACL is 8 months, and I was back in 8 months or 7.5 or whatever months. And then other than that, I I haven't really missed many through injury. So yeah.
Can you attribute that to anything? Obviously, Jake's case is being a super athlete, but
Yeah.
what about for you? What do you think about that?
Well, for me, I I don't know. Sometimes I look at it and go, oh, maybe I should have said that my ankle was a bit sore, or I should have. But I just wanted to crack on and play. If I had something small, I'd just strap it up and it'd be right. And I know you can't do that now, with head knocks and stuff like that. But I remember a few times in my early years playing professional and even for Southern Districts that I probably did get concussed, and I probably just said I'm all right, which obviously look is quite silly, and but
it's kind of been the culture, and I think that's actually changing now.
Yeah.
What was I going to ask you next? Nick Cummins, tell me about him.
I really like Nick Cummins. He's funny. I spent a fair bit of time with him when we were at Wallabies, and yeah, I still talk to him every now and then. He might send me a video of him farting or something pretty funny every now and then. But at the start I sort of felt like some of his jokes and things were he used to sort of get a bit of help off his dad or things like that for some of the things he'd say or do. But it just comes naturally to him now, and he saw an opportunity to stop playing footy and stop having to tackle people and get tackled, and to still have a pretty fun, active lifestyle that's not sort of like a traditional sit in an office type of job, and he's probably making money and and having a ball, going fishing and whatever else. So not that I would want to do what he's doing, but I see how it's pretty cool that he's doing what he's doing, and using he's had some hardships in his life, and his brothers and sisters' his health and his dad's health have sort of been high on his list of priorities as well. So that's been his reasons for doing what he's done. But yeah, I really, really respect Nick and really like him as a guy.
Mate, my one sort of interaction with him when he played at South is we're standing in the change room about to play Eastwood in a final at Milner, a semi-final, and I've gone to do my 35th pre-game piss, and he's come in next to me, pulled his pants completely down to his knees, and he's just looked around and gone, smells like a Vietnamese bedroom in here. Pulled his pants up, walked back in. I think he scored a couple of tries that game.
Yeah.
I got to ask you about France. Why did you go? How did you end up there? And you're playing for Bordeaux?
Yep, yeah, playing for Bordeaux. I suppose what I said before, how you sort of look and go, I wish I could play rugby in all different countries and experience the culture, and yeah, obviously there's money involved as well with a contract, and like in France offers a pretty good salary for most people who decide to come here. So it is, yeah, I suppose that's why I decided to come. I wanted to do something different. The money, there wasn't at the time when I was deciding whether I'd play. I wasn't playing that well at the Reds when I first decided. I think it was even before the season started. So 2017 wasn't a very good year for me at the Reds, and I signed after round 1 or 2 of 2018 to come to France. But I actually had quite a good year. If I had have waited, I might have got a better deal, or I might have got a deal somewhere else. But I decided that I'd do it. I'd sign the contract and give myself some security. And then, yeah, coming to France, it's very different. It's not for everyone. It's a bit of a culture shock when you're used to the way Aussies live, and even I lived in Ireland, it wasn't that much different to how Australians live. But yeah, France is just totally different. It was, and in 3 years I've been in four 4 different houses now, and just trying to find what's best for my family.
How just for the average person at home, how does it work in France? Do they set you up with a house? So you live where the club sets you up, or do you sort your own thing out?
Probably
Or is
every
it?
club's probably different.
Yeah.
I think Bordeaux, they've probably gotten better since I've been here. But when I first got here, I feel like they think they're being more helpful than they are. The guy the guy who runs around and picks you up and does things for you can't speak any English at all. Um,
So he won't hear
his
this.
Yeah, so he like he's about 70 years old and he's been at the club forever. And
Yeah.
his name's Alfonso, but everyone calls him Fonfon. And so he's running around and he speaks a bit of Spanish, and like I've been to Argentina a couple of times, so I can say like me gusta and por favor
Hola.
and gracias and hola and so like I didn't when I first arrived I didn't speak any French and he can speak Spanish and I'm like trying to say that I know a little bit of Spanish and you just get nowhere. Like he's driving me around Bordeaux trying to take me to appointments and I just can't speak to him at all. And then so I think the club thinks they're helping you, but they don't really. And then maybe I should have tried to organise things before I came over, but that's hard too when you're not here and like you just see photos of houses where I'm going to move and like we stayed in a place for 2 weeks. It had this tiny little staircase and it was 3 stories up and we had to park our car like a K away in an underground car park. And I've got 2 kids and my missus and it's like, and she had a few days where she's pretty crook. And then it's like, I'm in this country that no one speaks English and doesn't really want to speak English to you. So it is a bit of a battle at the start, but it does get easier and better.
In terms of the rugby side of things, do they help the English speaking guys, or do they expect you to try and learn French? Like how does all that work?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure at every club they do have lessons. So at our club, at the start it would be like on a Monday lunchtime or something. There'd be a lady that comes in, but then like boys have got injuries and want to see the physio. Boys don't want to go.
So it kind of gets put on the back burner a little bit.
And then now it's sort of become a bit more compulsory where there's someone like checking that you're there and you've got to have a reason to not go. But it's still the same. Like if the boys are on their last season of their contract and they're going to move back to Australia or New Zealand or wherever, they don't really care about learning French.
Yeah.
And then depending on if your coach speaks English or anything like that, like it's you might not need to, or the boys in your team speak English, you don't need to. But
so does just purely for my curiosity, is your coach English speaking or French speaking?
No, so everything since his new coach, this is his second season here. He speaks no English.
Okay. So do they translate, or everything's in French and you either have to ask the boys what he said, or you, from your understanding of French, pick up what he said?
Yeah. So I can understand now because it's my 3rd year here and I can mostly understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
But I find it hard to talk back to him in French, but I'm getting there. But yeah, like there's some words that are very similar to English words, and you just got to sit next to someone who can translate for you, or wait for after. But like there is a lot of things that once you know rugby, like you can sort of just make sense of it. You can make sense of a video clip, and things like that, so you can get by. But he's just said I'm not doing any English because my first year here we actually had an English. Well, there was an English head coach, defense coach, and forward coach, and they would speak English and French. So every meeting was English and French.
So it's twice as long, basically.
Yeah, but I didn't have to know what they said in French because I could just wait for the English or whatever.
How's COVID over there?
Oh, it sucks. I'm over it.
So what's
Yeah,
so just because for here, everyone freaks out when you have like 9 people test positive. So
yeah.
that's a bad day, and we shut down and all that sort of stuff. What's a general day like over there?
Oh, I can't even keep up with it. Like top of my head, like I feel like a few weeks back there was like 50,000 new cases in one day.
Yeah, right.
Like it's just off the Richter. Like it's there's that many cases that's just normal. Like, and then if the cases rise in just in our area around Bordeaux, then there might be something new that we have to do, a new rule or something. But yeah, it's just
How's it impacted your life in terms of rugby? Do you just go training, go home?
yeah. So really, like in terms of rugby and my home life, it hasn't really changed much because well, especially in winter as well. Like when it's cold and wet, you just want to be at home. And but yeah, rugby is like we just go to training and everything's the same, except we have to do a COVID test every week. So every Tuesday or Wednesday, we go and get a nose test, and then the PCR, and then we get the results the next morning, and then like, and that's even been like sometimes we're like, are we allowed to train today? Like waiting for that text or the email to say that everyone's negative that we can train. But normally it comes on our day off, so that's fine. And then yeah, and then you train, and if anyone's positive, they sort of just take them out of the group for a couple of weeks, or if it's more than like, I think if it's more than 2 or 3 players in one week, then you might have to cancel the game or postpone the game.
Has that happened for you guys yet?
Yeah, so we had 2 games that were postponed, and we've caught them both back up now, so we're back to where we should be, but it's like it's been so like I think the coach told us the other week that I think it was 2 weeks ago that it was our 21st week training in a row. Like so now it's been 23 weeks.
Without a holiday.
Yeah, like we had 3 or 4 days off for Christmas, but we still actually trained 2 days that week. And then so we haven't had a week off since July or something like.
Can
So
you
it's
can
just
you go anywhere anyway? Or you just take a week
like
off and just lie on the couch and watch movies?
yeah, well, there's been a few of the boys, and it's like probably easier if you're single or you're young. That like boys just have got corona and can't come to training for 2 weeks, and it's like I sort of go, oh, that could be good, but like not when you've got a missus and 2 kids, and my
Yeah.
mother-in-law's at the moment as well. So it's yeah, it hasn't. I don't want to get corona. I want to avoid that, but yeah, it's just been bizarre. Wearing a mask.
Our good
Yeah.
friend Jed Holloway's currently got COVID,
Yeah, I actually heard that.
and
Yeah.
that's probably been the most common reaction when I've told people. But
Well,
he sent
he
me
is very hygienic. So
he probably is now. Now he's married, but
no,
he sounded terrible. He sent me a video of his voice. He just sounded terrible. So I don't think it's something you want, but I think if you're healthy, you're going to be fine.
yeah.
What was I going to ask you? Do you watch movies?
Yeah, I do probably too much. I'm studying at the moment, so I shouldn't be, but I still do. But
What
I
are you
don't go
studying?
to the cinemas. I've just started education, so
So to be a
I've
teacher?
yeah, like I wanted to be a teacher when I was at school, and then it's taken me a while to decide I probably should study.
Where are you studying that out of?
Just Swinburne Online, so
Okay.
it's in Melbourne.
Are you good? Are
Um,
you good with the self study, or are you the kind of guy that needs to go to a classroom?
um, yeah, I'm probably still trying to work that out. But like I can't go to a classroom right now, so it's all I can do. But I feel like I'm getting better at it. I just need to be better at my time management. Yeah, instead of playing a game on my phone or watching a movie or just procrastinating or drinking too many coffees, I need to just get stuck in and get it done instead of leaving it to the last minute, which I did on my first 2 assignments.
Um, what? How many more years are you going to play?
Oh,
How you feeling? You're probably feeling pretty tired at the moment, but you got a few good years left, do you reckon?
yeah, well, I hope so. I actually, well, it was only on Monday. I was sitting at training doing a bit of study, and the coach walked past me and like had a look at what I was doing. And then before training, because he only speaks French, he sort of said, "Oh, like, mate, what are you doing on your computer?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just doing a bit of study." And he's like, "Oh, what are you studying?" I'm like, "Oh, like I want to be a teacher." Blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Oh, that's good." And then I was like, "Yeah, just trying to work out what I want to do after rugby." And then in French he said, "Oh, like after rugby, that's quite soon." But because it was in French, I was like thinking about what he said, and then I like looked at him like he's having a go at me here, like he's thinking, saying I'm like need to finish rugby soon or something, and I'm like smiled at him, and then he laughed. So I was like, oh, like he's. But then for the next 10 minutes, I'm like going shit. Like, does he think I'm like old and I need to give it up or what? Like, and it was sort of like it was eating away at me for like the first 10 minutes of training, and then I've sort of come to my senses and gone, no, like he was just having a joke. But no, like I'd like to play. Like I've got one more year here after this one, but yeah, I'd like to get another 2 or 3 year deal somewhere, and then depending on if I have got something set up, I don't want to. I feel like I don't want to be too old when I do retire, and I don't want to get to that point where I'm not playing that good either. So it's hard. It's um,
Just hypothetical for you. Dave Rennie signs the Doug signal onto the Opera House.
yeah.
We need you. Is that door closed, or are you open to
I
maybe coming
wouldn't.
back one
I
day?
wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's closed. I would love to, but I just don't. Like, I don't know. I don't know if there are young guys that are playing pretty good footy, like Matt Phillip and that. Like, I think he might be coming back to Australia after this season in Poe, maybe. There's some good young locks playing good footy. So I just don't know whether like I'd still back myself that I'm good enough, but I like different coaches have different mindsets around it and just go, oh, that guy's a bit older or whatever. Like I don't even want to go down that path or what. But and then if you think about that, they start thinking about the next World Cup, not just like these next couple of years. So they're like, if they're thinking about 3 years time or however 2 years time now, like yeah, I don't know.
I got to ask you about Luigi. Have you seen him at all? John
Yeah, I have.
Ulinga?
Yeah, I have. I saw him before the season started. So he was up in Bordeaux with his family, and they came around for a barbie. But yeah, like like I think I talked to him like last year, and he was like, "Oh, I might finish up," or like but he's got another deal, and then I think he signed. I think he might have signed to Bayonne before they came up to. Oh no, this is his first year there. So
This is his
he
first year, yeah.
yeah, so they were already top 14 because the year before they were Pro D2, but they yeah, so he's like, yeah, I'm going to go again, and at least like living in Bayonne's pretty cool. Like you're on down near the border of Spain, and it's you're on the beach, so
I've seen a few of the boys' Instagram stories, and it looks like a
yeah.
pretty tough spot to live. Can the kids
Uh,
speak French?
yeah, like they get by. Like Cleo can more than Harper, but they both understand it pretty well. I think they're like little kids are just sponges, so they've been at the little French school up the road since September, and yeah, like Cleo's confidence around her little friends, and like it's pretty cool to see. And they're like she corrects me with my French and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Mate, that's growing up overseas as a kid. So I lived in Hong Kong till I was 8, and has
Yeah,
a big influence on you. So I
yeah,
think it's probably better than it happening then than it is when you're older,
yeah,
if that makes
yeah,
sense,
yeah,
because it kind of shapes. Like I went from this school where there was like 60 different nationalities. Like
yeah,
all my best friend was from like Mauritius, this island, and I went to Coffs Harbour where there was like all middle class, lower class, white Anglo-Saxon Australian people.
Yeah.
And that they thought I was the fucking weirdest person, which I probably was, but like I'm glad I had that, and I think that it'll be good for the kids.
Yeah.
Can you do much on your days off, or are you just fucking chilling out usually?
Yeah, well, I feel like life admin in France isn't that good. Like when in Australia, you can just do whatever you want whenever you want. Like there's so many different businesses that are just shut from 12 p.m. till 2:30 p.m. Like, so in your lunch break, you can't go and
So they have siesta. They have a siesta in France as well.
No, I don't know if it's siesta or it's just lunch break. They're just like,
Yeah, right.
and they say that like the French people like work to live, whereas like they think Australians and everyone else live to work,
which is probably fair.
But I think they don't enjoy their work as much as we can. Like I feel like you can still be more positive and have fun at work, and you know what I mean. Like I don't know. I'm probably still stuck in that Australian way of thinking. Or
well, I found it. So I spent a brief period in Italy before I got sacked in a. So I'll tell you the story. We can cut this out, but I got a contract to play Eccellenza in Italy, and I was my body was fucked at the time. I'm like, I've always wanted to go to Italy, so I went, and I played terribly for like the first 4 games. Had a concussion 1 week, and then the other tight end prop started. They won the only game that they won for the whole season, and that guy ended up playing for Italy. So the town went crazy because it was like all emotional Italians and like what you were saying in Ireland, like the whole mood of this place changed based on how the rugby team went.
Yeah.
And they were all happy. And then we went to a team meeting on the Monday, and the whole thing was in Italian. I'm sitting there pretending like I care, which I don't. They're all like yelling loudly, a couple of people having beers. This is like meant to be a semi-professional, professional team. And the general manager comes up to me at the end and goes, Duncan, you stay. And he hands me a Google translated bit of paper. So you know how Google Translate changes some of the words around? I wish I still had it, but do good. We home send you. So that's it. And it was amazing. Like they had a limited English before, but their English became non-existent when you're trying to get your money out of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just like everything over here is like as much as they say that obviously the contracts are good in France, but then and the tax rate's not as high, but like there's so many little things that's like you've still got to pay all these other taxes, but they don't come out of your pay. Like you've just got to pay them. Like so it's changed here that now you do get your tax taken out before you get paid, like Australia. But it used to be the other way around. So boys would get done, they would spend all their money and then not have enough money to pay their tax at the end of the year.
Do you have to pay tax in France and Australia, or just in France?
No, so I'm only paying tax in France. Which like I feel like I've had an accountant in Australia who before I moved here was telling me that I need to pay it in both places, but
I think it's once you're overseas for a certain period of time, it's something like that.
Well, if you say you're technically don't plan on coming home, and then all of a sudden you do plan on coming home, like then it's different.
Do they still do that thing over there where if you spend a certain amount of time in the Pro D2 or the top 14, they pay you after your career as well?
Yes, that's called chômage, which I think they've actually changed it. So it's, I think it was like 3/4 or half of your salary up to a certain number of like a certain amount you could get paid for a year or 2 or 3 after you retired. But now I think it's like that for the first 6 months, and then there's ways of trying to keep it like at a certain level, but you have to be like studying while you're still living in France, or you've got a part-time job or something. But yeah, I think at the moment it's like boys, if you did retire, you'd stay for 6 months to get that amount, but then it would drop. So you'd be like, well, why am I staying?
Yeah. I was going to ask you, but it's weird asking people this, but I'll ask you anyway. I don't want to know how much, but like, how much better is the pay? I don't want to know what you get paid, but like, how much better is it?
Well,
it's definitely better, isn't it?
Yeah, like it definitely would be. Like it's, like I don't know how to say it without
like multiples, like 150%.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say if you could get a $100,000 contract in Australia, you could probably get a €150,000 contract, which you look at and go, that's one and a half times the dollar. So yeah, if 150 would be what, is it 225?
Something like that, yeah. So but that's quite a bit better.
Double. You could probably get double, I'd think, and then the tax rate's low, but then like life admin, living overseas, getting like flying home when you miss home, flying like.
There's additional expenses that you don't take into account.
Chop away, yeah, and it's like, even living here, you there's a lot of places that when you rent them out, like you think, oh, I want to rent furnished, but then you go into a furnished place and the furniture's shit, and you're like, you buy your own stuff anyway, and then if you go unfurnished, they don't even have an oven or a dishwasher or anything, like, and you're like, I got to go buy an oven for my house, like, and then when you move house, you take your oven with you to the next house, like it's.
So there's stuff you just don't get anywhere else.
Yeah, and then and like the rental setup, I feel like it doesn't suit the renter. It suits like the person who owns the house, and they sting you for everything. Like they'll go through when you move out, and just general wear and tear that you can't get done for in Australia.
Like you scuffed a cupboard or something.
Yeah, or like they will just get you for it. They'll be like, well, because in Bordeaux especially, there's the calcium or the calc in the water.
Yeah.
So like you need to get the pipes cleaned, like, I don't know, once a year or every couple of years or whatever. So you move out, and then they'll charge you, like, they tried to charge me €200 for there being calcium in like the build up of it in the sinks and stuff. And I'm like, well, was I supposed to not use the taps? Like, was I supposed to not have a shower?
Yeah.
Like,
so, but I guess it's pretty, and then you got to try and explain it to them, and their English completely disappears.
And I think a lot of boys just pay it, but the house I'm in now, the owner of the house lives across the road, and he's a good guy, and he's like, I sent him the list of all the things I needed to pay, and he's like, no, that's bullshit. And so we sent them a letter, and I got all my money back. But they were trying to get like $1,000 off me, or 1,500 or something.
Yeah, so it adds up.
Yeah, but I think a lot of boys just pay it. But
yeah, I guess it's one of those things where it's probably just easier just to shut them up and pay it. And
they're like this foreigner who doesn't speak much French, and who's getting paid good. Like they're just going to pay us. So
they just fucking milk you dry.
Yeah.
Do you reckon COVID's going to fuck things up with rugby? What's your take on it?
I feel like France isn't going to change much, because it's like there's so much COVID here already, and it's been going up and down that unless there was some, like, I know they're talking new strains and stuff, but unless there was something else that really derailed the whole thing, then I feel like it will just sort of stay as it is. Like, there's no fans at games, which sucks, and especially for us, we were getting like 30,000. I think we averaged the best in Europe, like Bordeaux. So like, I think they were.
I was going to ask you that. Is it weird not having a crowd?
Yeah, I like when you're actually in the game and you're going to a line out and you're going to a scrum and when you're just playing footy, you don't really notice it. You just play footy. But
Yeah,
like, yeah, when you run out at the start of the game and there's just no one,
the
and
the
then,
groundsman sitting
and
there.
then
So
yeah, yeah, it is pretty weird. But yeah, for us, I think the club relies on fans quite a lot for the money and stuff. So we had to take a pay cut, obviously, and then
yeah,
and I feel like I've been talking to a lot of boys in France, and they're like they're wanting to move back home, or they're thinking about retiring, or they're thinking about trying to get to the Force or the Rebels, or someone to be back in Australia because we just look at you guys on Instagram and everything seems sort of normal and we're
look, the only thing that's
that one way.
changed, bro, is probably the only thing that's changed in my life is I haven't been to Vinyl Room for 8 months,
Is
and
it
that's
my club still closed or is it or you just haven't
yeah. Well,
been?
like just before Christmas, everything was about to open up. Literally, nightclubs were about to open up, and then someone on the northern beaches went on like a mad pub crawl, went to like 25 pubs in like 2 days, and like I think 80 people ended up getting COVID, and boom, everything's shut down again. And I've honestly stopped paying attention to it. Like,
Does anyone in Sydney have to wear a mask or anything or
yeah,
what is it?
so all of a sudden, so even before with the lockdowns, you didn't have
Yeah.
to wear a mask when you went to the shops. None of that. All of us just recently, even though there's been fuck all community transmissions, everyone has to wear a mask when you go to like indoors. So if you go to a cafe, you're good. But if you go to like a shopping center or like I went to Bottle the other day, you had to wear a mask. It doesn't make any sense, but
Yeah.
I'd assume your mask doing everything over there.
Oh, everything. It's I feel like I'm getting like pimples behind my ears from the little straps that go around. Like it
You don't
sucks.
have to
There's
wear
like
them training or anything, do you?
no when we first came back to start preseason after the first lockdown, like we were wearing them in the gym, but then since we get tested every week and stuff, there's still some staff that wear them, but yeah, it's no one does. Yeah, none of the players do at like when we're actually training or anything, or around each other.
Mate, I reckon we've had the best chat since I've just stopped pretending like other people were listening.
Yeah.
And I did that with Tarf and Rochi as well. Although with Rochi, I can't actually share any of the stuff that he says.
Why is that? Just because it's Rochi. Do you follow a few? Like I follow Bloke in a Bar, Dan and Kent.
Yeah, well, that's part of the reason I thought of this because I'm like, no one does this in rugby in
Yeah.
terms of like,
No, and I think they should. Like there is, well, like thinking about it this year. There's a Harry Bennett used to play at Easts and Waratahs and stuff. He's from the country too. I'm pretty sure. Played like New South Wales country. A couple of years younger than me, maybe. He lives in New York and he's got a rugby podcast. And then there's, I know Caleb Timu was doing one. He's at Montpellier now,
yeah,
but yeah, like I find that rugby league in Australia, there's all these guys that are just pumping rugby league up, and they're always so positive. And then like you think about just the journalists in rugby and especially with like Fox Sports, they just
dude,
like
totally
take
agree with you.
they just take the piss out of every player, and he's doing this wrong, and he's not up to the level. And it's like, mate, just it's probably the Australian culture as well. But like we just need to be more positive. How are we going to grow if you're just taking shots at people? Like
Mate, I look, I wrote a blog maybe 4 or 5 months ago saying how I think they can improve rugby in this country. And one of the things I thought was that the way they tell the stories of the players is really average. Like, and my reasoning for that is if I know about Kane Douglas or Jed Holloway's life, I'm going to be more interested in watching them play than if I know nothing about them.
yeah,
And if you think about it, how many positive stories are there about rugby players?
not many. Like
I mean,
I know there.
there's occasionally, but like some of the boys have pretty good stories. Like I guarantee if you think about some of the guys you play with, there's some good stories that probably could be told there.
Yeah.
You know, and that was another part of this is like I know a lot of rugby players well enough to have these chats with them, and let's try and show some people a bit of the character behind it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And like it's hard. You think about like some boys are like really big on Instagram and really like trying to put themselves out there, but like it doesn't have to be like that. It can just be more of a like in a sit down talking like this kind of situation. Which I don't really like photos of myself, and like I don't even know if I like my own voice. I don't know if I'm going to come across.
Mate, I don't like my voice. I don't like my voice at all. Listen, so for the pilot episode, you got to submit an episode to Apple Podcasts to get approved. Yeah. I thought, fuck it, I'll just talk into a microphone for like 6 minutes and explain what I'm going to do. I reckon I did 35 takes. It was just, even what I ended up with was just garbage at the end. I'm like, you know what? That'll do. You know.
No, but then even who was it? Berrick Barnes is actually doing one with a couple other guys in Lennox Head, and he does it out of his shed. Called Ball and All. But they do a lot of different sports. They've got they do surfing and rugby league.
That's what I want to do as well. I want to get into other sports.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just using this as an excuse to talk to people, really.
No, but it's good. It's really good. It's,
you know what I reckon?
I've only discovered podcasts in the last few months, and it's like I'm subscribed on Spotify and whatever else.
Mate, there's some good ones. You know what I reckon you should do? Have you ever seen the Life of Brian Majati vlogs?
Actually, I think I've watched ones you've reposted or something on Instagram or Facebook.
Mate, I reckon it's guys in France showing like a bit about life in France. You get a good following on YouTube. I reckon so many people are interested in it. It's just, you feel like a fucking weirdo putting yourself on camera and talking and shit. But I don't think people think about it that much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's just especially when I know you're sitting in your house, it's not, you're not sitting in like a studio somewhere. Like it's like you're just a real person. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Well, it's mate, the best conversations I have on these is when I switch off and just pretend like it's just you and me talking.
Yeah.
It's what someone said. Like someone listened to Roachie's one and to Taft's one. They're like, the best bit was at the end. I'm like, I totally forgot I was supposed to be asking him questions.
Yeah.
So I think it's just been normal, and I was pretty self-conscious about doing this, but then I thought, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. See how it goes.
And if they don't like it, they won't watch or you know what I mean?
Well, that's right. Like the worst case scenario is I get to fucking pick your brain for a couple of hours and you know. But I had all sorts of messages today from people because I talked to Taff about retirement.
Yeah.
And, I had all these random messages from people who had retired from sport, and they're like, oh, I'm glad you did that. And fuck, even that alone makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, like I start thinking about my own, and I'm like, I don't want to be too old. I don't want to be playing shit. But yeah, like it would, I feel like I don't think I would lose who I am. Like I think I'd be still, I could see myself working in a coffee shop, really. Like and just saying hello to people. I know every man and his dog's got a coffee shop in Australia now, so it might be hard. But
it's hard here.
But I think I wouldn't lose who I am over retiring. But you'd miss like staying in good shape or or just easily staying in shape with a professional environment, and you'd definitely miss the just talking shit to boys all day, every day. But hopefully you could still do it in a different way. I'm sure you do a fair bit of garbage talking with whoever you want, whenever you want.
100%. Like for me, it's not the social thing because all my mates are still around. Plenty guys like that. So it wasn't the social thing, but it's like I've been struggling with reasons to exercise at the moment.
Yeah.
Because before, even just playing shoot shield, you're like, oh, I got to be fit for training. I got to do this. So, it's still a reason.
Yeah.
But like,
Have you
I'm
picked up any
interested.
other hobbies? You don't want to play touch footy or
No,
golf?
mate, the only running I do again will be from the police, I reckon. Right, like I ran with Metz the other day, Tim Metcher, and I think he Metz is the only person he knew that was slower than him, and
Yeah.
but no, I've been doing a bit of Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu, which is pretty fun. I've been a bit slack lately because I'm like, it's fucking hard, and it's like, fuck, I got no. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just haven't been in that.
Goal, you think you need a goal sort of like
kind of, and I got to snap out of it because, you feel good when you go, but it's like I don't really want to fight anyone, That I walked into the Muay Thai place the other day, and there's guys in there like your size, and like we're both pretty strong dudes. Like I'm not an athlete, but I'm stronger than most people. And I saw these guys actually sparring. I'm like, no fucking way. no fucking way. Anyone built like you who knows what they're doing is a scary person, bro. What's your thoughts on that? The different approaches to like contact training.
I don't know. Like you obviously have to do it at some stage, but like when I was at Leinster, it was the whole thing was on like discipline and stuff, and boys already knew how to do everything. And because in Europe you play so much, like you sort of don't need to do like you don't need to do all that contact because you're just playing again this weekend and it's like the next weekend and you're playing 30 something games in a year.
Yeah.
But in Super Rugby, it's like they need to utilize every session they've got to just bring something else because you've only got 16 games. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
It's like I feel like not that I like complaining or anything, but I feel like either way there'd always be something that you could be like always like and you finish a session, you're like, oh, I wish we didn't do that, or we could have done that better. Like there's always that. But like nothing's ever going to be perfect. But like sometimes here we just the coaches put you under so much stress on a Monday, and it's like, shouldn't Monday just be my learning day? Like, and then they're like on a Tuesday you'll go for like I feel like going for like half an hour without a drink. Like you're like, just give us a drink. Like and I don't know. But yeah, when I was at that Reds 2018, we were flogging each other Tuesday. Like,
what about doing full noise captain sessions, captain's runs? Obviously,
maybe it wasn't. Yeah, or maybe it wasn't full noise on the Friday, but like definitely has been on the Thursday. Been, but yeah, I don't know. If you mix it up and like variety is pretty good too. Like I like changing when you train and changing what the session involves and then mixing it up and not training one day. Like it's like I like that variety. What they say, variety is the spice of life. But yeah, like just changing things up and.
Would you have a coach?
I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't really want to be like a head coach, but if you got a good, I don't know, if you got a good gig being just the forwards coach or something, it could be good. But then I also think about not having anything to do with rugby after rugby.
Yeah.
But like,
I guess it's probably going to be nice to have your weekends back.
Yeah, that's it. And that's like especially with kids, you like. I loved my childhood with my dad and mum coming to all my games and like in all my sports and stuff. So it's like you do like I do see the benefits of having like sort of a normalish job where you can like if you work for yourself and you don't have to work on weekends or in afternoons and stuff, you can do that as well. But if you had like a normal job that's like your 9 to 5 as well, that could be good to like to not work weekends, to be able to go and coach your kid at footy or whatever.
What I will tell you about working for yourself is you work way harder for yourself than you would for anyone else. Like, I had like 5 highlights reels to do in a really short space of time. So you stay up till like 2 in the
Yeah.
morning. You know, you work on weekends, you work on public holidays just because you have to. And that's the price you pay for being able to do what you want the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So that's not for everyone, but like one of the boys at South has just sold his business and is now a full-time employee for the first time in 20 years. And he reckons he's only getting marginally less money than what he was taking home, but he clocks off at 4 in the afternoon and he doesn't think about work till he goes in the next day.
Yeah.
And he's not working weekends. He gets public holiday pay, sick pay, all that sort of stuff. So it just depends what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure like, there's pros and cons to everything.
Like for me, I hate the idea of going, hey, can I go do this today? Do you know what I mean? Like that's something I really struggle with.
Yeah.
But to pay the price for that,
if you did have if you had a kid and he's got a rep game, like can I take my kid to, like drive down to Coffs Harbour from Yamba to go to his game or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that might be hard if you had a normal job, like
well, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just it'll just be depending where you want to end up. Don't rush back to the real world though. Fuck.
No, I know. No, and I need to use it up as much as I can as well. But like I also know that I'm over 30 now, so I need to start at least thinking about it. But
teaching would be a good gig, I reckon, because you would get a job straight away at any big rugby school, and you'd probably get a rugby coaching job. And like the amount of super rugby coaches that I know who end up getting school jobs, and who get paid way more money than they ever did as super rugby coaches, and then you get 12 weeks holiday a year as well. So
like I know that'd be like you'd have to stay up and mark things and plan your next class or whatever, but like,
mate, I live with a teacher. It's not that bad. This is definitely going in.
Your missus is a teacher?
Yeah, she's a casual teacher, but I think dealing with kids can be stressful, but I don't think it's that stressful. Are you doing high school or primary?
Well, just for the minute I'm doing primary, but I'd like to I love maths, so I love to be like a high school maths teacher.
You love maths?
Yeah, for some reason I'm like I can just remember. Yeah, not that I'm like Rain Man or anything, but like I feel like I can remember numbers, and I'm like I love doing Sudokus. I love numbers and patterns and codes and shit. And, I don't know.
It's cool. It's interesting the things that people get like drawn into. One thing I've got to ask you before I leave you alone, and thanks heaps for this. Wine. What's the wine like in Bordeaux?
Well,
are you a wine guy?
I feel like I'm not a wine guy, but I actually didn't really drink wine until I got here. So I've come around. I especially on a hot day, like a rosé is pretty sick. And then like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like with wine, it's more of a like this one's not too bad for me, but I know like other people love it and like and they love the one from the wine from Bordeaux. But yeah, like I'm still trying to work out like even in different parts of like, so Bordeaux's on a river. If you look at like on the left-hand side of the river, there's like the north and the south, and they've got different flavors depending on what's sort of around the area. Yeah. So I'm still trying to work out like what I like, but I feel like for me when I crack a bottle, I'm like, oh, this one's not as bad as that other one. You know what I mean? Like,
not this is good. This isn't as bad.
Yeah, but yeah, like I feel like I probably will get to a point where I do like it. Like it's growing on me. Like I'll have a glass. I'll have a bottle with my missus probably once a week at home. And then, but like some boys are probably cracking one every night. But like it's not sharing a bottle is not that like you're not going to get drunk or anything.
No, it's different. It's kind of different over there too. Like.
And it's cheap as too. Like
that's right.
You can get a good tasting bottle for like $3 or $4. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
So like there are pros like and cheese and stuff's cheap and baguettes. Like you can have you could put on a fair bit of weight over here just eating cheese and baguettes and drinking red. But
the Italian club I was aligned with had the Italian club I went to had a pizza restaurant that was like a sponsor of them. And the guy just liked me for some reason. I think he was probably the only person in the whole town that did like me. So I'd go there like once or twice a week and just they called it a maxi pizza. So it's like, you know what a large pizza's like? It's probably 3 times the size of that, but real thin. Yeah. He goes, as long as you don't have pineapple on your pizza, you can have whatever you like, because they found that really offensive for some reason. And man, I swear I ate so much and I didn't really blow out. So I don't know what it is.
No, well, I know the French are real big on like they call it bio over here, but it's all like the organic sort of stuff and no preservatives and things and like everything being fresh. So it's probably
do you like French food?
I don't mind it, but I do like when you're just getting it all the time, like you do miss like easy things in Australia, like going down and getting a Guzman and Gomez or something. That's one of my biggest fast foods that I miss. But,
someone told me that they're like, oh, you got Mexican Maccas. I never heard that before.
But it's like like they love their meat rare. They just do it a little bit different. Like at the moment, I'm not really having French food because we have a Portuguese chef at training. So that's pretty good. We get breakfast and lunch every day from the club, and then because the restaurants are closed, all you can do is get takeaway now. So I haven't been to a French bistro or anything like that, but yeah, like I do like the French bistros and restaurants and stuff. Like they do some good stuff, and there's heaps of those like Michelin star restaurants and stuff in Bordeaux. Like it's like back like 5-10 years ago, they were just handing out Michelin stars to every restaurant in Bordeaux. There just seems to be so many of them, but
you got to make the most of that while you're there. Once you can,
yeah,
I reckon.
Yeah, I think a few boys have got like a little list of like ones you need to tick off, all the restaurants you need to tick off before you leave France.
Fuck yeah. You make the most of that, mate. Northies is probably still going to be here when you get back. Last question for you, bro, and then I'll leave you alone. And I've been asking everyone this. What advice would you give 18-year-old Kane Douglas?
Oh, tough question. Probably enjoy your time with the boys more than you're like trying to chase girls. Like I look back and go, that's my like seriously, like I don't know, just going to Northies and Fusion and like all that kind of shit. And like, yeah, you look back and go like spend time with the boys and like have fun, because it's not gonna, like, I can sort of see the light at the end of the rugby tunnel, and I'm like, I don't know, like everything, like every year goes quick. Like the Super Rugby final and that, it all went quick, and you're like you need to just enjoy like all those little moments, hanging with your mates and having that beer and yeah. So just enjoy. I don't know if that's my only advice.
Just enjoy,
yeah.
Mate. That's
enjoy the humans. Yeah.
That's a fantastic way to end, my friend. Thanks for this.
That's all right. No worries.
I think we did all right.